Good morning, y'all. Good morning. Welcome to Mornings with Mova, where authenticity lives and thrives to create a space of growth, healing, and joy. I am your host. Hoo-hoo. I am your host, Andrea Lawful Sanders, and each day we're covering the topics that are informative and engaging while learning from each other. Happy Thursday! It is Thursday, September 4th, 2020. Hi, Dennis. How are you? Can you hear me clearly? Sometimes these things don't work so well. Good morning to all of you. The call-in number is 215-400-0146. It is Love is Thursday. Sharice Fax will be on with me. And so we're getting ready to have a conversation. I just typed in something and I was like, wait, we are really? I'd like us to have this. The topic today is, are people having less sex and why? Why? Right. And so I want you to think about that as we navigate through the show and talk about it. Let me see here. Child. So a couple of things happen. Let me talk about this. Uh, Good morning, Dennis. Dennis, you said we're having less sex. We'll talk about that. I had a delivery yesterday from UPS, and it came with a cash on delivery. Turned out it was a tariff tax that was an extra $50. I don't even want to tell you what happened there, but it was interesting. And so I reached out to UPS, and they said, yes, sometimes these things will happen. Please go online and fill in a my UPS a portal. Go to the my UPS portal and set up an account. And so if there are extra taxes, if you order something that's coming from somewhere around the world other than in the United States of America, they will let you know if you owe extra money before it gets to you. Sometimes the folks are, good morning, Marguerite, Beatrice, Roslyn, all of you. Sometimes folks are told ahead of schedule by the manufacturer when they buy the thing that this is a tariff tax that is added to the thing that you bought. This particular thing that I bought did not have that, and so they came and was like, I was like, it was so funny. Well, not funny, but the tariffs are here, and we're dealing with all kinds of things right now, and so I just wanted to make sure that you are able to be informed about what's going on. I spent yesterday, and you'll see it a little bit later, just dropping paint all over my jeans. I was frustrated about something and it didn't work out. And so I went and got some paints and just started throwing paints on my denim pants. Really cool. It really turned into a cool thing. So it didn't cost any money, right? So there we are. Let me carry a little bit of news for all of you. Good morning, Monica. As we move through this Thursday. Good morning, Roz. Good morning, darling. I see all of you. I see you. Whew, Lord have mercy. How are you all dealing with the increase in goods and services? Talk to Marvel because I said to my husband early this morning, I said, how are people going to make it? How? What are we doing? How are we going to even make it through these next couple of years? Good morning, Bobby Carr. Good morning, my brother. How are you? Good morning. Morning, Dennis. I see you all. How are we going to make it through these next few years? Let's just say the next 6 months. Um, there has been dialogue in my circles about the amount of people that have lost their jobs and how they can be supported, that the food banks are running short on food because people are going to get food, because they don't have any money. I also talked to another good friend of mine, and here's a hard conversation, and it's hard. It's a hard conversation to have, and I want us to have it. How willing are you to downsize your life if you have lost your job and you find that things are expensive, just expensive beyond um uh hold on, Marguerite. Yes, let's do that. Yes, because I do a really good job of it. My neighbor was looking at me going, how the hell did you do that? But it's yeah. Marguerite is wondering, is dropping paints on jeans going to be another stream of income for you? And I mean, you can come do it with me, all you'd have to pay for the paints. So we'll worry about that. But yeah. So how willing are you to downsize your life? If you're recognizing that your house is about to go into foreclosure, are you willing to put the house up for sale and sell the house and go into a smaller home? Are you willing to sell your car and go into a less expensive car? Are you willing to not get your nails done? Are you willing to not buy clothes and shoes and all those things? Are you willing to downsize your life? Because the lady that I was talking to last night said to me, part of the issue in our community is that we spend money. We spend money on clothes, we spend money on shoes, we spend money on vehicles. And she said, if we took that money that we've been spending on clothes and shoes and vehicles and put it all together, we would realize that we'd be able to buy real estate and continue to buy real estate, to buy things that would appreciate, like homes and artwork and that kind of stuff, instead of the things that are, we're buying right now. How willing are you? And I'm asking each and every one of you, how willing are you to downsize your life if necessary? How many of you are willing to do it? Right? It's interesting. I remember going to a divorce and selling the house, moving to an apartment, and somebody said, "Why are you living in an apartment?" And I kept saying to myself, listen, y'all, I got to figure out downsizing my life worked because I had two small children and I had to figure out what I needed to do. And look, I'm back in the house again. And so I'm saying to you, how willing are you? How much pride or big ego do we have that we would be unwilling to sell, to downsize our lives? What does that look like for you? What does that look like for you? I just really want to know. Can someone let me know, what your thoughts are around that? I would really, really appreciate it, because that's what I'm finding out. We've been talking to women who have lost their jobs and have lost their jobs for quite a while now. And it was Laura Roan. She says, "Mom, mother," she calls me mother. I'm telling you, you can't keep helping people to make their car payments when their cars are repossessed. Ask them to get a smaller car, a less expensive car where their car payment, because you can always go buy another car. Let me give you another example. My oldest son had been wanting, and in my family, we don't buy brand new cars. So let me start there. Had been wanting a 2013, 14 Porsche since he graduated from college, God knows how many years ago. When he moved closer to home, sold his first home and came here, he bought that Porsche, and then his wife lost her job. You know what my son did? He sold it. He didn't even think three times. He's like, "Mom, it just doesn't make fiscal sense for me to hold on to this car. There will be others. And maybe I can buy a 2014 Porsche somewhere along the line, maybe years from now. But right now, it's my family, it's my children, it's my home, being able to pay my mortgage." How many of you would be willing to downsize and downgrade your life? And let me tell you, it hurt his feelings, but he did it. He absolutely did it. He just sold it, got it out of the way, and was able to bring more money into the house to help them maintain and do what they needed to do, because it was clear to him that they needed to keep a roof over their heads. How many of you would be willing to downsize your life when times of trouble hit? I remember sharing a story with all of you, because and this happened 2000. Let me be clear, because was I married at the time? No. So this happened 2007, 2008. I was doing some work in a school district and had met a mom single mom, but she was vice president of a major healthcare organization and doing incredibly well. A pool in the backyard, one of those big fancy houses. She was driving the latest model Honda Acura. She had, taking care of her daughters, had her daughters in dance recital and this and that and all the other things. And she was living the best life. And she says, I can't imagine living any other way, because this is the way I've gone to college, I've done my thing. And then she disappeared, and had disappeared for several months. And they kept asking her daughter, because she was very engaged in the school, kept asking her daughter, where was she? And the daughter finally said, "Listen, I need you all to come to my house." They get to the house. The house was in foreclosure. She had been without a job for over a year. But because she believed that she would have found another one, it never occurred to her to downsize any of those things. And as a direct result, she lost the house, lost the car, lost everything, and ended up living in a small space in an apartment. Was almost homeless there for a little bit. She was homeless. The people took in her children for a while, so that until she could kind of get herself back on her feet. And she never recovered, because she had told herself that the mark of success are the things that she had. That the mark of success is and you all hear me talk about this all the time, and I talk about it all the time because there's a season upon us where we're going to have to make decisions that we're uncomfortable with. That season is here. And so as much as you can download, as much as you can offload some of the things that you have to be able to help you. And because you can't see it now, because you feel fine right now, all the things feel good right now. Marguerite says, I don't have any financial trouble, yet I am downsizing my life right now. I'm selling everything that I don't need or doesn't serve me. I am right there. I'm giving away stuff. Come get it. Just please come and get it. Come and get it, because the lighter we are when things start to unfold on us, we'll be able to say, all right, let's just, if you sell things, hold on to that money. Don't take it and buy something else. I was telling Denise yesterday, and Denise and I hang out all the time. And in fact, Denise has been a savior to me, because yesterday was a really crazy day because I was waiting for an appointment and the doctor canceled it at the last second. And I was like, yo, can we get this thing done? And so I was frustrated. And my husband reached out to me about something he wanted to buy. And I was like, nah, 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 nah. And then I pulled back and I was like, okay, let's talk about it. And we talked about it and we ended up resolving it, right? But here's the thing. How willing would you be to downsize your life? I said to Denise, I forget what I said to Denise now. I'm talking to you and I forget what I said to Denise. Winetta Smith says, good morning, Teresa Brown Paris. And Winetta Smith, she says, for my everyday survivor, it has to go. We have to make wise decisions about our lives. Yeah. So I forget what I said to Denise. Oh, I was saying to her, I'm giving away I just, because what I feel is that if, God forbid, we get to a place where folks are coming to take the things that we own from us, and I'm talking about Black folk now, and we spend all this money on this thing and that thing and that other thing and that other thing, and they just come and snatch it up. And we kept saying these things couldn't happen. Melissa Robbins, I had a conversation with her last night. Melissa Robbins said, in 2020, I said, all these things that are happening now was going to happen. And somebody said to her, we're not back in the Stone Ages. We're not back before slavery. These things can't happen to us anymore. And it's happening. This person said, we are making our money. We have gotten degrees. Everybody in our house have degrees and we're going to be all right. We are here now where there's a struggle, and the struggle feels quiet because it's underground right now. But when I tell you the amount of people that have no jobs, it is mind-boggling. Y'all saw the 300,000 number. It is way more than that. Way more than that. So how do we navigate through this stuff? Are we so stiff-necked that we can't say, life is happening, that we can't downgrade our lives? Monica says, I have had to start all over being $50,000 in debt with nothing. So downsizing is not an issue. Hubby and I are purging currently. I have found that I have way too much stuff. It has got to go. We're purging too in our home. We are. And says my husband, instead of us buying this thing, look at that thing that we already own and use that thing. And he agreed with me, right? So it's just, I wish I could share. Well, just trust me when I tell you, a ton of people are in foreclosure. A ton of people have lost jobs and have not been able to get another job in the last 12, 18, sometimes 2 years. One lady said it was 5 years before she got another job. So if, for the grace of God, you have an amazing job, live like you don't have it. Live like you're not making that kind of money. Okay? Live way beneath what you can actually afford to do. I'm telling you, because this is insane. It's insane what is going on out here. And I saw another gentleman yesterday, and he said the constant news, the constant bad news is people feel like they don't really want to manage and deal with all of this stuff right now in the news. Immigration. All our information being used by the IRS and Social Security, and folks losing their jobs, and it just feels like it's a constant thing that we're going through over and over again. So I'm happy to see that some of you are purging. And to whatever you bring in for coins, make sure you put out less than what you're actually bringing in. Not easy, not easy. And please remember that you're going to have to support your children, because we are at the place where they're struggling too. And if your mortgage is paid for, find a space, figure out how are we going to support the children. They may have to move back in. I know there are cases where that has already begun, right? Where children are moving back home because they're just like, I don't know how to navigate. I can't figure out how to manage. Don't make them feel crazy. Please do not, because it is not an easy scenario for anybody. It just isn't. It absolutely isn't. So if you have things in your closet that you can give away, even if it still fits you, but you have way more. So I have a ton of skirts. I'm a huge long skirt sister. I'm working my way to give away some of my skirts. And I mean, you've seen them. Fabric was bought in 2014. I just kept making them one at a time, one at a time, one at a time. I'm going to start giving away my beautiful skirts. I can only wear one at a time, right? And so to save someone from maybe having to buy something to go to an event that they have to go to, call mother. We'll figure it out, because this is insane. And I have sisters who will not wear what I wear because they're like, this is way too much, just way too much. We can't wear that stuff. So we'll be able to give that out. And then if you don't have to go anywhere and if you don't have to spend money, then don't do that. Right? One of my dear friends, her mother made me some stew peas. If you don't know what stew peas is, I don't know what to tell you. And she mailed the stew peas to me with frozen things all around it and the stew peas frozen. I have been eating stew peas for breakfast, lunch, and dinner for the last several days. Just so happy, right? It's been, I don't know, y'all. I don't know how to tell you how it feels, but it just feels different. So when Cherie joins us, we'll talk a little bit more about that. And then the question of the day is, are Americans having less sex now? This was written by Newsweek. The number of Americans having sex has dropped to record lows, signaling a potential sex recession, according to a recent study from the Institute of Family Studies. I got this idea, by the way, from Laverne Cheeseborough, who was like, you might need to talk about this. Why it matters? America's fertility rate is projected to average 1.6 births per woman. Ha! Me too, East Coast 215. We're going to talk about that. America's fertility rate. My husband just texted me and said, just don't give away the short skirts. It's crazy. So America's fertility rate is projected to average 1.6 births per woman over the next 3 decades, according to the Congressional Budget Office most recent forecast released this year. This number is well below the replacement level of 2.1 births per woman required to maintain a stable population without immigration. Baby. Uh-huh. There has been a documented dip in young people having sex. In 2022, nationally representative U.S. survey of 2,000 adults from the Kinsey Institute and Love Honey, 1 in 4 Gen Z adults said they have yet to have partner sex. There was also a pronounced gender divide in this study, with men being more likely than women to report never having had sex. 1 in 3 men versus 1 in 5 women. Shut the hell up. The IFS study found that at the turn of the millennium, the number of Americans having sex started to dip, and that this number has continued to decline since. In an email shared with Newsweek, Nicholas H. Wolfinger, a professor at the Department of Family and Consumer Studies at the University of Utah, says it makes sense to separate the sex recession into 2 separate but related phenomena: a long-term decline in the percentage of people who are married or in live-in relationships and sexual activity. One of the biggest predictors of sex is simply whether you live with someone. Cha. The study states that over a 10-year period from 2014 to 2024, the share of young adults between the ages of 18 and 29 who are living with a partner, either married or unmarried, dropped from 42% to 32%, citing data from the General Social Survey. And the amount of sexless that's defined as having had no sex in the past year has increased among young adults, according to the IFS. Citing data from the GSS, they reported from 2010 to 2024, the number of young adults who reported not having sex have doubled from 12 to 24%. Baby. Oh, we're coming back to this. Let me let Cherie in. Good morning. I don't see. Oh, there you are. Good morning. Not having sex have doubled from 12 to 24%. Can you hear me? I can hear you. I can hear my voice behind you.
I didn't hear you say that you were
Oh,
coming.
okay. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Um,
Good morning. How are
so there's
you?
a couple of things. Good welcome. Sharice Fax has been talking to me now for what we've been 3 years. Cheese and
A long
crackers.
time.
Long time.
Yes.
And
Oh,
it's the love,
yes.
it's the love is yes. And she's gracefully agreed to talk to me about, love as it pertains to us in our Black community. So, white folk, I know you're listening, but and some of you are married to us, so you should join the conversation. You should be a part of the conversation. If you're married to a Black man or a Black woman, listen, come on in and let's discuss, because there's a lot happening. So, there are two things I want to talk about today.
Okay.
If you run into major struggles financially, would you be willing to downsize your life? A, and
Okay.
B, we're not having no sex out here in these streets.
Who?
So
Who's
listen,
we?
14 to 20 young people are not having sex. They're
I've
they're
heard that. I've heard
It's
that.
insane. Well, it's not
Yeah, I've
insane.
heard that.
I understand us on this level, right? So, there could be health reasons or whatever else,
Sometime
or
you're talking.
menopause. Let's discuss the menopause, because I've talked about it until I've been blue in the face. My poor husband, I'm like, listen, no, I can't. It's just it's a lot, right? So,
So
but
I
young
haven't
people.
gotten to that stage of menopause where I am not interested in having sex with my husband. I was at the point where I was having a little bit of the hot at night, and then I started doing Minochill and some other like making sure I'm doing my soursop
Mhm,
and my sea moss and this other herbal concoction.
mhm,
And it feels like, and I don't know if it's mentally, but it feels like it staved that off. Like I'll get a little bit of warmth, but I don't get full on where because I've been with my girlfriends or seen people like really start sweating and things like that. So it feels like maybe I pivoted early enough when I first started, feeling the hormonal shift.
mhm.
So I haven't gotten to that part yet, but I
Well,
do know that many have that challenge.
I've not had conversations with young people about being sexless. I didn't realize so many of them. So now we're down from 2.6 births to 1.6 births, and they're saying that if we stay at 1.6, it's not enough to have a stable economy
Economy in the
without
future.
immigrants. You need other people.
But anyway, yes. Well, but so just being around like the new generation of young people and there's a Netflix, I want to say it's Netflix, and I'm all for Netflix now because they are behind Gavin Newsom. But I think it's a Netflix where they kind of talk about the young people and this doom scrolling and just this constant social media engagement. And I want to say it may have been COVID. I don't want to blame it on COVID. I don't have any data that tells me, but it feels like that period of time, because now those young people who may have been getting ready to graduate high school or like in college, like now we're 5 years, kind
Mhm.
of post that, or getting close to 5 years post that. So now those people are, even if they were 18, they're 22. And if they were older, they could be anywhere from 24 to 27. And that's when having a lot of sex. At least I was. I mean,
Yeah.
though, that's a period of time where you're exploring and you're engaging with people and you're figuring
Yes.
stuff out and all that stuff. And though, that group of people was shut down for a period of time and not really being able to engage. So say if my first year or two in college was online, I may have decided to finish my last 2 years of college online. So now I'm
Online.
not
Yeah.
engaging with people, or in an online community. I'm not engaging with people the way I would have been had I gone to, on campus. And I think a little bit of that, and again, I don't have any and all stats to support this. I've just heard, you got more young men staying at home because they didn't go off to college. So now they're home and just kind of being quasi isolated.
Yes.
And so you've got all these dynamics that I do believe COVID may have been the catalyst for, that coupled with the being bombarded with social media and these phones just really taking up a lot of their
Mhm.
kind of mental and emotional space.
Mhm.
They're not, and some of them are having sex kind of like in an online environment. I mean, you
Right.
know,
There's that too.
and
Yes.
so then they're at least pleasuring themselves in a way in a non-traditional way, at least for our generation.
Right.
Fine for them, but so let me watch my words.
Right, but
But
wait a minute. But here's the other
I
thing.
think it's
It
that
also
too.
shuts down a lot of the STDs that were running rampant for God
True.
knows how many years. But these are people
True.
18 to 29 years old, just not having sex at all.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Christoph Michael, come on over to A.Lawful Truth Enterprises on YouTube. She does sound low, and I don't know is
I
your
sound low.
volume up, Sheree? Yeah, you sound low, even
Okay.
from me over here. But if you come on over to YouTube, Christoph, you'll be able to hear her way more clearly. So it's A.Lawful Truth Enterprises. You'll see me in an orange dress with a purple jacket, right? Come on
Is
over
this
here.
better?
Yes, that is better.
Okay. My computer was just further from me. I'll bring it back. I'll bring it closer. Sorry,
Wow.
everyone.
So, okay, so 18 to 29, not having sex, but they go further to say it's not just young adults who have been impacted. The study states that married adults are more likely to have sex than their unmarried peers. 46% of married men and women aged 18 to 64 have sex each week compared to 34% of their unmarried peers. However, there is still a decline among this demographic. Between 1996 and 2008, 59% of married adults aged 18 to 64 reported having sex once a week or more. This number dropped to 49% from 2010 to so even with us, the married couples,
Mm-hmm.
right? There is an issue there. So let me read. Let me. Woo! Oh, Viola, really? Viola said 15 years or more. Oh God, it is. It is okay. All right.
15
So
years. 15 years.
yeah,
No. 15
yeah,
years.
no
Okay.
sex. Yeah. Hmm.
Um.
But I think though, and so this is part of the issue that as I see it, there are a lot of men with advanced cases of prostate cancer just for this reason. They don't want to not be there for their being able to perform for their partners. I'm trying to use my words carefully because I like speaking my just the way I'm thinking. That
Slow down, brain. Let the mouth catch up.
And so, and so what happens is there are a bunch of men now with stage 3 and stage 4 prostate cancer that's now advanced and they're terminally ill because they didn't want to think about not being able to perform sexually. I remember when my husband was diagnosed, went to the urologist and I said, urologist says, well, you have a young wife. And I said, I'm not young, bro. I just look young. Trust me, every part of my body aches, but I really want to it's more important to me that he remains healthy and alive, right? And that there is a period where we will not be able to do anything, but that's fine, right? But there's so many women who are like, what am I going to do? Blah, 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 and they walk away. And so the men feeling like this is a large part of who they are and the performance issues, etc., decide that, you know what, I'm just going to ignore it until I can't ignore it anymore.
Mm. Mm.
It's
Mm.
happening way more than you could possibly believe. And so we have to think this thing through. Um, uh, David said it's the shenanigans and the stress. Butterfly says young people from the isolated time frame you're referring to has caused people not knowing how to interact socially and
Agreed.
feel awkward starting a conversation and help the conversation. You know what, Mary Lisa May? I know this is you, Miss Butterfly. Monica says, my daughters are single in their 30s, and I believe choosing to stay sexless as a personal choice. And then when Roe v. Wade was reversed and women could not have abortions, there were quite a few women who went and got themselves sterilized. They just were not having children and they didn't care. David said, are they not masturbating? They probably are
They
masturbating.
probably are. Yeah,
Yeah, they
they
probably
probably are.
are.
So so self pleasure and
Mhm.
and again back to the kind of more, and I would still consider that a non traditional. I think
Right.
you masturbate obviously, but I think as far as saying, well, that's how I'm having sex, that's a non traditional way. So that was one of the ways I was referring to, David. I'm thinking that people are in their isolated spaces, pleasuring themselves
Right.
in non traditional ways.
Yeah. Dennis Thomas said, and they are, let's not forget the cray crays out there. Let's discuss the cray cray. What are the cray crays? Right? Because what do we consider, what would we consider crazy in a relationship? What are the things that David said? There's no sound from you on Instagram at all, David. I don't know what the hell, because the mic is turned up, but sometimes that happens. So come on over to A.Lawful Truth Enterprises, and you will find us here, okay, on YouTube, absolutely on YouTube. Um, Monica, so let's see. Laura says there is a movement where the young women do not see the benefit of having children and getting married. I think it's called 4B. What?
Yes, that
No,
was. Is that
wait,
the one that
let's
started
discuss.
in? I
Let's
think that started in China.
discuss. Go ahead. Go ahead. Go
I
ahead.
want to believe, Monica, didn't that start in China, the 4B movement? Um, it's almost like if you ever see, was it Chirac? And they were talking about women. Women were protesting sex and giving
It
giving
is South
themselves and giving
Korea.
their bodies. Huh?
It is. It started in South Korea. Originated in South Korea
Yeah.
around 2019 as a
Yes.
feminist movement. It stands for four Korean words beginning with "by" or "no" in English. Baihan, no heterosexual marriage, no childbirth, no dating, and no heterosexual relationships. The movement
Yes.
aims to push back against social pressures, gender-based violence, and restrictive abortion laws.
Yep.
I learned something today.
Uh,
I did not know
we
there was
we
such
are
a thing
here.
as the
The
4
platform
movement.
is here to teach the children. Yeah,
Oh.
I mean, and I think because we've grown up, again, back to the traditional kind of hierarchy of patriarchy, and although you don't have the same movement, I guess, feminist movement overall as you did like with Gloria Steinem, you still got that permeating throughout kind of our environment. I think that this administration, because of its very top down, heavy, patriarchal, strong hand, whether it's because of the abortion laws, whether it's because of kind of like the family values rhetoric about where a wife, where a woman should be, that
Mhm.
has borne out people kind of protesting with their bodies
Yeah.
about how they will engage with men. And then, sometimes you have, men who are believe they're entitled to a certain way that women should be. And especially in some other cultures, maybe a little less, here in these United States because of kind of our history, and we've been set up a little bit differently. But just in general about certain men and their thoughts and ideology around what they believe women should be, and therefore then how they treat them. And some women are saying, we are not. So that's what bore out
David,
born to that
David
4B.
said the crazy, no, Monica says the crazy cray crays are the reason why my daughters have made that choice. Angela says it's all the domestic violence happening. People have no coping skills. I agree with you. They have no coping skills. The simplest things sends them off into a tangent somewhere.
Yeah.
David said they just sound like lesbians. But look, Laura says it's big in Asians. I really think women are really taking back their bodies. They just can't be
Agreed.
bothered.
I
They just
agree.
can't be
I
bothered.
agree. I agree. And
Marguerite.
it's interesting. It almost seems like an oxymoron for it to be Asia because, outside of, white women, people have deemed and have identified the Asian culture, Asian women culture, as this, docile, domestic.
Right.
They take care of their husbands. Now, I have seen them against their men a lot,
Yeah.
so I don't I
Yeah.
don't buy into that. They
Yes.
they say anything to tear us down. Um, but it's interesting that that is the culture that kind of is protesting and kind of the new wave of feminism,
Yeah.
because historically and not historically because I don't even know if that was factual, but stereotypically, they were the ones who catered to their men.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Marguerite says it was 15 years of no sex for me and I was married. Being in a
Yeah, we would have been
sexless
having a
marriage.
conversation about how I can have a partner outside of well, that's that's a very that's a very that's a very selfless way to be, and I mean that in all
Mhm.
sincerity. If we were that far, if there was a problem that caused that on either side,
Mhm.
I would not make Tracy sacrifice. Like I wouldn't. I would be like, hey. be discreet and be respectful. And me too.
Wait, are
Yeah.
you saying that if you could not,
15 years, like 15 years,
you
because
would
that's
say to
part of
Tracy, be respectful and be discreet, but go get your
be
go
I
wing
want
the
my husband
nuts?
to be, I want my husband to be happy, and I want to be happy. And intimacy, sex is part of it. Intimacy, as long as we can be intimate, I can still have a flourishing marriage. But if there was a problem with like the real act of sex, then I we would have a conversation. We would absolutely have a conversation.
Wow.
What that would be, I don't know. But we would have a
Right.
conversation, and I would be you know,
For those of you who are married, how many of you would be willing to do what Cherie is talking about? If you're, because there are plenty of sexless marriages, plenty
yeah.
of sexless
And
marriages
I don't
for
want
one
that.
reason or the other,
Yeah.
right?
I understand.
Um, wait, so well, there's a lot of talking here. Monica says,
You know,
wow,
we
I
talk
have
about
never
sex.
heard of that. I'm going to ask my daughters about this. David says, y'all laughing, but there have been a huge upswing in homosexual relationships. Say more. I, okay, let's talk, David. Let's talk about this. Laverne says a hall pass.
Yeah,
Laverne,
basically.
this is a direct result of the thing that you sent me last night. I went digging and I was like, wait, there is such a thing. She said that's like how women who wait for men to go to jail lots of years that go to jail lots of years. Wow,
Yeah.
wow.
So, and again, I don't know what the outcome of the conversation will be because Tracy and I have never had,
You're
we've
just
never, you
getting
know,
lower and lower as I'm talking to you. It's weird.
really?
Yes.
Oh,
Alexandra says Miss Cherie, the Chirac is based off of the Women of Liberia Mass Action for Peace movement in Liberia. And David says, I wonder how much of this is about choice and lack of duty. Hmm. We're really getting into a deep conversation here because these are the things we don't talk about. These are the things we don't talk about. You know, some people can be in sexless marriages for one reason or the other. David said 20% of women who divorce become lesbian. Wait now, see. Oh God, now I have to look this up to ask because I I have to look this up, David. I have to look this up. Whoo, Lord have mercy, and I can't right now. So because I've got a lot of things happening at one time. Let's see.
so
Men have
so on
stopped
my
being.
side, I see the microphone. You're not hearing me?
I can hear you. It's just that you're getting lower and lower, and I'm not sure why.
Let me see if I can put my
Um,
earbuds on if that makes sense.
David said men have stopped being on the deal and now on and now on gay dating sites openly. Yeah, uh, 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 somebody that I know really well because if I say
But
Jugga Mahootie,
that's why I always say I don't have data. Sometimes there's feelings and not facts. So I don't want nobody coming on here because I don't want
yes,
nobody have me
yes,
part of some wrong information. So
right,
I'm going to
right.
quantify all these things with
Yeah, I'm looking. Yeah,
unless you can
yeah.
give me
Because
facts.
there's a uh, let me just take a look and see because now I have seen gay men proposing to women, staged photographs and everything. So, but now he's saying that men have stopped being on a deal and are now in on gay dating sites openly. So Laverne says, so the
But
generation
I
of
also
men.
think that there is a different, as we've continued to evolve as a society, there's a
Mhm,
very different, the DL was a big thing when I was young. I think
mhm,
that now people being, whether it's openly gay or in marriages where their spouses are okay with them being bisexual, I think that has become somewhat of a quasi norm in our society. So that also could be a result of just that evolution. When you
yeah.
think of Andrew Gilliam, I mean,
Yes.
he is openly bisexual. Wife is okay with it and is on his
Mhm,
podcast platform with not an issue. And that
mhm.
traditionally, especially in church culture and African American culture, has not been something that's been so acceptable. But we have passed that arc where now that has become a little bit more acceptable. Excuse me. So, I don't know if it's the sexless piece or if it's just we've evolved as a culture where, the men are more openly on sites and things like that. If that is a fact.
All right. So Psychology Today, and this was in March 17, 2023. After leaving their marriage, uh, many people often experience a period of hypersexuality, but they lack information and experience to make good decisions. Those who have heterosexual marriage, they're saying married, gay, and coming out. But there's a thing here that says, from Psychology Today. There is a notable increase in LGBTQ identity, particularly among younger adults, indicating a shift in societal acceptance and personal experiences. Many individuals who identify as gay or bisexual have been in heterosexual marriages before coming out, often facing unique challenges and obstacles in their journey to embrace their sexual orientation. While the overall trend shows a rise in LGBTQ identity, it is important to note that this increase is primarily driven by younger generations rather than a significant uptick in individuals identifying as gay after marriage. Okay, so there's that. Let's see here. Ooh, wait. All right, hold on. All right, because you all are talking. Laverne says David is correct. I have family and friends that have done it. What do they call y'all? You're typing so fast, it's messing with me. All right. So let me just see here. Wait. You all are all right. All right. Hold on for a second. Laverne says so. The generations of men and women from 20 to 35 get into relationships they're in the mood for. Sometimes they want to be with the opposite sex, and sometimes they want to be with the same. David said they're reporting with lesbian relationships. Tamara says, David, I was going to say the same thing. Huge uptick in homosexual relationships. Is their data included because they're having sex? Laverne says David is correct. I have family and friends that have done it. What do they call it, David? Fluid, or is there another word? He says the CDC reports these numbers. Alexandra says at David Alexander Jenkins, become or finally free to be openly lesbians. A childhood friend after divorcing her husband came out. Yep. Laverne says being bisexual is a normal thing now. David said there's an actual site called Sniffles where you can see straight men looking for gay sex. What? Okay.
Okay, can
So
you hear me?
I can hear. Yes, I can hear you. But here's the
Is that
thing.
better?
Yes.
Okay.
What happens if you go on Sniffles and you see your husband or your partner? What happens? Which is why I say when you get into relationships or your girlfriend or your wife, right? This is why I say when you get into relationships, you ask the questions: have you ever slept with a man? Have you ever been with a man? Are you bisexual? Do you consider yourself bisexual or gay or whatever it is? We don't ask those questions. We don't ask those questions. I was at an event the other day and was talking to a man
Yeah,
who I thought was
we should,
we
we
should
should,
ask.
because my
We should
husband's
ask,
formerly
right?
incarcerated. That definitely, and all the stigma associated with that, that
Yes.
definitely was a query.
Yeah. You have to ask though. Because hold on, David. Stop typing because I've got wait a minute. Marguerite says, yes, David, I know 3 ladies that got divorced within a year were in lesbian relationships. David says, type in sniffles into Google and see the sheer amount of men around you. I am afraid to look. I am afraid to look. Monica says, I am very married and want my hubby to be happy, but I am not sharing. I will do what needs to be done. Wow, this is an interesting conversation. If you don't get anything else over here, you get an interesting conversation. I promise you. And so, David,
I
now
mean,
you're going to.
I think, I'm very married too. Um, I think 15 years of not having, I think marriage can encompass multiple things. Marriage can look certain ways for certain people, and you're not less married because you choose to, you know uh, if your spouse is incapacitated in some way and you are caring for them daily. I love my husband. If I was incapacitated and he had to care for me, I would not want to begrudge him the ability to have some,
But what
level
about
of.
in sickness and in health, for better or for worse, till death do us part? What about that part?
I think that still is in sickness and in health. And if
Okay.
you're not leaving me, you're still caring for me. You're
Mm-hmm.
like, so I think that is. But I also think that people should be able to have a certain modicum of living, and you know, to me that's also love. it it
But
doesn't
you can get a sexual release in your marriage by doing other things.
You can.
Okay, I'm
I
just,
think that,
yeah,
but
okay,
I think that it's worth having. I believe that, I'm not saying flat out, and it's not happened. So right, I don't
right,
have a point of reference, but I am saying that I, we should be having a conversation of what
yeah,
that could look like.
yeah, yeah. Wait. So, who this conversation? What time is it? You all are 7:50. Okay. Wait, y'all, David, y'all wait. These questions.
In fact,
Woo.
I'm reading a book called it's Sunny Hostin. I read the Bluffs first. Oh, now we're
Yes.
reading about Sag
Mhm.
Harbor, and there's a couple that there's a third person kind of in their marriage, quasi. They mention it very subtly, but because they've been together since maybe college, and as the longer they've been together, they're best of friends and great business partners, but they're not as connected intimately to each other. And so this other person kind of is the husband's, like, it's now that is
Paramore.
not some that's not something that I'm interested
Right.
in.
Right.
But I think it just speaks to how marriages can evolve and look different as long as both partners
Yeah.
are consenting adults.
So I'm over on Facebook, and Winetta says, "I'm not sharing our bodies or meat over here. Only food."
Hey, if
I
you got
cannot.
one that's come
Hold
up like
on.
a corpse, I don't know.
Wait. Let me go back here. So Alexandra says Andrew Gilliam's wife knew that he was bisexual when they were in college. So she's not, this wasn't a new thing to
Right,
her.
but that wasn't something that was shared broadly until later. And
Right,
I think for us to kind of accept that is
right.
showing that we have evolved.
Yes,
We've evolved, to me, as a culture, because that has definitely
yes,
not been something that we, with
yes,
kind of church culture in
yeah.
our
Oh, yeah. Well, hold
DNA,
on.
has
Yeah.
accepted.
There's more. Butterfly says sex is a behavior and intimacy is the ability to connect and have safe space with your partner. Monica
I
says, I
agree.
do know one young lady that have divorced and is now in a lesbian relationship. David said, hello. Laverne says, yes. And a lot of these relationships, the couples are bringing the other person in. That I have heard. I was like, wait. But this has been going on since the beginning of time. Here's the problem. We don't talk about these things.
Yeah.
We don't talk about them. And
Well,
so Monica
yeah,
says, what?
in most
Go ahead. Go
kind
ahead,
of
sis.
monogamy is more of a Western culture. Like in biblical times,
Uh-huh.
monogamy
Yeah.
wasn't a thing.
And I find the ones who are hollering and screaming about it are the ones who are actually doing it behind closed doors. So it's something else. Laverne says, and yes, Andrea, I would want to know so I can have the option to decide if I want to be with you. She says, I have asked. I asked too. I asked. I was like, listen, can we have a discussion here? If we're going to talk about this, can we talk about this? And we talked about it. Um, uh,
And I think that if you are not at least having some kind of discussion at some points, it's not front of mind, but if you're not
right.
having some conversation
Yes.
with your partner, you should be. You should be.
Yes.
You should always
Yes.
be having conversations,
Yes.
with your partners about all
Yeah.
types of intimate things.
Yes. She says David is opening Pandora's box. David's always out here opening Pandora's box, making everybody crazy. Alexander says, I've been asking these questions since my 30s. Good for you. David said, honey, when I tell you the men's is mensing together at the gym, church, and at work. Whoo. Laverne says, I agree, Cherie. I would give my husband a hall pass. Just don't bring a baby home. He's not giving me one. No way. Wow. Viola says, my husband was great in all ways of our 44 years of marriage. Tamara says, at Marguerite, your husband was sick, correct? You weren't just not having sex? She asked the question. Alexandra and Monica Habbins, he typed sniffles. Yes, Lord. Wait. I know a Marguerite says, I know a married woman who was on one of those sites. She made a date with a man she met from the site. When the man arrived, the date ended up being her husband. What the hell?
Oh,
Say
really?
more. That's
Hmm.
crazy.
Um,
Alexandra, Ozzy Davis and Ruby D had an open marriage for a few years of their marriage. They wrote about it in their book. I wonder if we are just sexually repressed in so many ways in the Western culture that all of this stuff just seems, Laverne says we don't talk about it. Laverne says, when I commented on the reel, I said people aren't having children. I said people aren't having children because lots of women have had hysterectomies and are having fertility issues, and men have erectile dysfunction. Young men, yes, so many young men in their late 20s, early 30s are having erectile dysfunction. I don't know if it's the things that they're taking at the gas station. I don't know what's going on with them, but it's happening way more, way more.
I mean, when you think about though our diet, when you think about all the things that is put in our food, when you think about some of the stress, when you think about so many things,
Yeah,
that could be impacting men's ability to have proper function for sure.
yeah, yeah. Crazy.
So, um, processed foods. If you take processed foods out of your diet, we're
Child.
trying to get there. We're not quite
Yeah,
there, but we're trying to get there.
yeah,
That is a game changer as far as from a health perspective. So, yeah, for sure. Can
yeah.
everybody hear me better
Yes,
with
I
my earbuds
can.
on?
Um, David said it has also been connected to vapes. So vaping is
Mm,
called it.
that's
Yes,
interesting. Yes, that makes
yes,
sense. That
yeah.
makes a lot of
Whew.
sense.
Why don't we have these conversations more often? Why is it so taboo? Right?
Well,
Laverne
because I
says,
think sex is, sex. So, for us, one, sex, we were brutalized with sex through the Middle Passage
yes,
and
yes,
on the continent, and then once we got here, people raping us and things like that. So sex in our culture is tied to, especially for African American blacks, sex is tied to trauma,
yeah,
and it's tied to power and so much. So when we're raising our children, and then back to church culture
yeah.
and what's good and not good and all that, sex is kind of something that's bad, and until you get married and all the things. My girlfriend's mother passed away, and she just found out that her mom and dad, they're real religious, prudes, just found out that they got in trouble when they were young because they had had sex before they got married. And she was like, I was flabbergasted. Exactly. Because a lot
Oh
of
no,
that,
because I've seen it happen where somebody got pregnant and wasn't married, was brought to the front of the church and apologized, and then sat down from all ministries and blah 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 blah.
yeah.
What?
Yeah, yeah. So, sexist has this really negative connotation. And as a result, we're not comfortable having conversations around sex because where did we really learn the language? Where did
Right.
we learn, how to have the conversations? Where did we learn that? So,
Yeah.
um, we don't even have the words. How do you start having that conversation? So that we haven't built any confidence around having conversations around sex. So that's part of it.
Laverne says the young people are having these conversations. We not. We're not. The young people listen and don't judge. Us older folk do. David
Agree,
says weed is
agreed. I
yes.
agree. I
Mm-hmm.
agree. I absolutely,
Mm-hmm.
I absolutely agree. And they're more willing to kind of go to social media and TikTok and see what's happening in in that space versus having, kind of factual, data driven,
Right.
real conversations on what that looks like.
Yeah. Laura says women are sexually repressed in the patriarchy society. Men are not. I have been seeing in the last several weeks women who are married to gay men. They're clearly gay. Like gay,
Hmm.
gay, 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 gay. And I don't understand. So, and then as I was talking about it with a friend of mine, what clicked for me was maybe she's gay too, but they come together as a couple and decide that they'll just make it work. And she go do what she wants to. She goes and does what she wants to do. He goes and does what he wants to do. He is more outwardly gay. She isn't. Right. I really believe more and more people are getting into these relationships knowing what they know and choosing to get in them anyway, right? Because it's really about having because maybe her parents didn't agree with her being gay, maybe his parents didn't agree with them being gay, and so they came together. It's a lot. David said in the upper classes we are encouraged not to have premarital sex, but if we must, explore with the same gender so no babies are born. Baby, what? Boarding schools have lots of studies on this. Wow. Wow. He says, I can't tell you how many straight women hit on me like, baby, I'm not a lesbian. I love you. But I'm seeing all these uptick in engagements, and I'm looking and I'm going, this is clearly staged. We can clearly see you're gay, right? So what is happening here? Why do we make people feel like they can't be themselves? Why? Which sets up this scenario where they're doing these things about, look, I'm getting married. Stop talking about me. And I'm gonna have the fantastic wedding. I'm gonna all the things, right? Laverne says, and that is because of the family dynamics and one in the family in a normal household. Oh,
Mm-hmm.
I don't listen, y'all. We are here. David said the women have better jewelry, better furs, and better hair when they get into gay marriages. He's so crazy. but let's talk, because now more and more people are choosing not to have children as a direct result of A, just not having sex at all, and B, just wanting to be with same gender because it's just easy. Monica says, well, I am truly getting an education today. You will always get one here. You will always get one here. um, Marguerite said her
And
husband.
let me say this to
Mhm,
Monica. I mean, because I don't want to be clear. Like,
mhm,
there is nothing that I would do to compromise my marriage. Like, not
mhm,
one single thing. Anything that Tracy or I do, at least, I feel pretty strongly to speak for him, would be discussed and would be agreed upon. It may not be what the next person would do, but those are the decisions you make every day in your marriages,
right.
because your
Yeah.
marriage is the two of you making the choices that you
That works
that
for the
you
two of
want,
you.
that you make for the two of you. And that is
Mhm,
why, in my opinion, that's where you have to be evenly yoked. That's where you have to be aligned. That's where you have to, have common thoughts. What Andrea and Mr. What might make them happy may not make Tracy and I happy. It may not make Monica and her husband happy. I think we need to, again, back to that, listen and not judge. I think we as a culture need to be careful about what real marriage looks like, and what I'm really married. So you're really married, and what does that mean?
mhm,
Because someone makes a different choice, they're less married. I think
mhm,
sometimes we have this judgmental tone of
mhm.
what the normal is, and we're all evolving,
Yeah,
and no one is living in anybody else's household or anybody else's
yeah,
marriage.
yeah.
So I think that is some of, especially to me, for Black culture, we real judgmental about what we think marriage and this and that and all these things are.
and
When
and
if
maybe shocked to know that their mother and father, or grandmom and grandson was doing what they were doing. It's so and so's
Exactly,
friend, but
and just
okay.
didn't say anything, and
Yeah.
we've got so
Hmm.
many secrets, and don't have many conversations, and we
Yes.
like, so my choice would be, I don't want to be sexless for 15 years.
Yes.
And my hope is that my husband loves me enough to know that, one, I'm younger than him, and two, he knows he's already taken care of. I have set up policies and home health, like all that. He's going to be taken care of. And I would hope that he would love me enough to
Hmm.
be like, I'm not going to just make her sit here for this many years without that. Like, that is what I would hope. That to me is a good marriage.
Hmm.
It is not a
Hmm.
good marriage for my husband to make me a martyr, or to make me, or anybody, or for anybody to make me feel that I am, because we're connected. And
Yeah.
I would want the same for him, because
Hmm.
I would not want him to sit and watch me decline and not feel that he couldn't have any ability to have some, whatever the situation
Hmm.
is. So I'm just imploring people to stop judging
Hmm.
what they think is good or bad, because that's part of the reason why a lot of these conversations don't happen.
But that's all right. You're in a safe space. This is always a safe space. Everybody's valued right here.
Oh yeah, no. And so
Um,
I'm just saying,
yeah,
like,
yeah. I hear
rethinking
you. We hear
what
you.
what good
Versus that
means.
is right.
Yeah.
Alexandra says, and Laverne, I agree. I have a family member. He and his wife are a part of a swingers lifestyle. He explained to her that's what he's into. They've been married since 2011. So again, what they choose to do in their own marriages is. Ji says, wait, Laverne says, my sister says her lesbian relationships aren't working because she keeps dealing with women that are straight and just want to try at being a lesbian. I've heard that quite a bit, Laverne. I did. I've heard that quite a bit. That they're straight and try a lesbian relationship. Viola says, yes, Monica, I'm cracking up. J.I. says, lavender marriages. At a certain point, my friend and I discussed it. Wait. Marriage that will look even more different as well as we live in this economy. It would be more aligned with companionship and practicality. Yes, Ji. Y'all are talking real fast here. Laverne says, my son said he does not want to bring children into this world of confusion. I'm faced with the possibility of not being a grandmother. Ji says it will be between any two people. Absolutely. David said, that's why I always say all marriages have their own contract. Absolutely. But we want to follow what society tells us to do. And it doesn't always work, right? You got to do what works for you. Alexander said, exactly. While I am, hold on, you all are, who, Jesus. While I am certainly tempted, I feared God more than I feared my husband. If I chose to get satisfied elsewhere. That was Marguerite. Viola says, my husband had no problem with having a mastectomy, with me having a mastectomy. I had a baby 2 years later. So I guess who sent me the sniffles.com website? Y'all stop it. I gotta go take a look. Monica says, I hear you, Shirley. No judgment here. I'm willing to be open, but I do not choose that. That is all I am saying. Perfectly fine, Monica.
No, no, no. And
David
I didn't
says,
say, but I think the term, the phrase of "I'm real married" or whatever the phrase was that was attached to that, it's a choice.
yeah,
People
yeah.
making choices in
Um,
marriage every
Dave,
day.
yeah, David says real adult conversation at 7:30 in the morning. Laverne says, yes, that's a conversation to have as well. Getting married at an older age, not having sex may very well be something that may happen. Not may happen. 1 in 2 men are diagnosed with prostate cancer. 1 in 2, and they just don't, they choose not to do anything about it. It's crazy. Laura says, I totally agree with Cherie. Laverne says, I love having conversations with the 20 to 35-year-old. You learn so much of the way they think compared to my age generation. I have said this. I said this on Mr. Man Frisbee's thing yesterday. Listen more than you talk when you're talking to the younger people. Just listen. They
Yeah.
will impart some stuff. There are days when my whole face is like, wait, I turn my head sideways. But my sons take such pleasure with their friends just sharing with me some of the things that was been going on in the streets. I was like, wait, what? They're like, Mom, we know you're cool. We know we can talk, because I'm not combating them. I'm not asking why the hell would you get. Nope, I'm learning, because
Hmm.
these last two generations, baby, almost completely different from the way we were raised. And
Oh
so we have
yes.
to hear. We have to hear. There's a lot happening out
Although
here.
my children are not the children of not having sex and not having kids, because I've got 4 grandkids, 5 grandkids since me, and one on the way since Tracy and I have been together. So that is not our family. We'll populate for everybody else.
This is so funny. I'm sorry, y'all. I missed some comments very earlier on because we got into this dialogue with Cherie, and it took off. It absolutely took off. And so I'm grateful to all of you to open your ears, your hearts, and your minds to what we're discussing today, because it's when we keep the secrets that everything becomes such a shock, right? Allow people to live their lives, allow people to make the decisions about what they choose to do, whether you agree with them or not. You can, tell them what the Word of God says and tell them about the Bible. But as you're telling them, I also want you to hear what they're saying, because there's a lot going on out here, and many of them, when I say not choosing to have children, just not choosing. Not only they're not choosing, they're choosing not to have sex with other human beings. Can you imagine? There's AI sex. I learned that the other day. Like
Yes.
you can have sex with a computer. So I don't even know. Uh, Laverne says, I'm going to need to be a foster grandma. Yep, child. Yes, yes, yes. My youngest son is like, y'all can have it. He said, I'm watching my brother with his 3 children and the 3 dogs and the way he said, you can have it. I would be the best uncle ever, but this is crazy. So I have a child that's like that. Like I'm just not. He said I can barely take care of myself, Mom. I can, and I make over $100,000 a year. It's insane. Everything is so expensive.
$100,000 is no longer
Yes, no, it's worth $50,000 now,
about
literally.
$57,000 today.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. So he's
So
like,
that's not even.
I think the most I can afford is a puppy. We laugh. He said, y'all are laughing, but my behind is very serious. I can't afford this. This is crazy. Anyway, thank you all so much. This was a great, robust conversation.
Yes.
Um,
And
we
we listen and we do not judge. So
talk
whatever
because Viola, look,
we
Viola's been married for 44 years. Her husband's been gone for God knows how many years, and she talk about what she ain't gonna do, and that she not. Listen, this is who Viola is. Monica says that's really married being meaning a long time, 25 years marriage and knowing each other for there. That's really marriage, yeah. You have been in it, Monica. Sometimes I see your husband when I post thoughtful things on Facebook. It makes me so happy because I can tell that he has been listening and has become a part of our community, our Mornings with Marvel community, and I'm grateful for that. So tell him we said hello and thank you.
now
Yeah.
look, now I got my husband gonna be like, what was y'all talking about? So all this talk I gotta go explain.
You just oh, because you had that in your ear, so he can't hear what we're talking about. You ain't right, Cherie.
but, but he can hear me. So
Which
he's
he
like,
can't
I was
hear.
like, what's going
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Tell people how they can find you, my darling, and thank you for staying a little bit longer.
Oh, yes. You can always find us at 5021 Baltimore Avenue. We have a new September schedule of music, Fridays and Sundays. On Friday nights, we have some wonderful kind of jazz singers, and Sundays we have our normal Sunday supper. You get $45 three-course prefix meal. It's the best deal out there to come and have dinner, a little bit of music at an economic price. So that is at Booker's Restaurant and Bar, 5021 Baltimore Avenue in West Philadelphia.
All right, my darling. Thank you. This was a better conversation than I even thought it was going. We didn't even get into how would you downsize your life. That would be another hour. So we'll talk about it
Oh,
next.
yes, we will talk about that next
Let's
week.
talk about that next week because the way the economy is going, how are we sharing? What are we doing? Are we living together? What does that look like? Thank you, my sister. Always a pleasure. Talk to you soon.
Always a pleasure. Thank you, everybody.
All
Appreciate you
right.
guys.
Bye, honey.
Bye.
Bye bye. Y'all, you do not disappoint. You guys, I love you. When I say I love you all, I love you all. I love you all. There are mornings I get up and it's like, I don't want to do this. Nobody's going to pay attention. It's just, I just need to, I just go off into the sunset somewhere and figure it out. I don't want to do this anymore. But then I get on here and you all just you remind me that there's a purpose for being on the air. There's a purpose for having these conversations that no one else is having. There's a purpose for giving you space to talk about what matters for you, not what I want to talk about, right? Because this subject matter came from Laverne. Laverne was like, I think this should be a conversation in your Love Is segment. So I went digging, and guess what I found? This was wonderful. This was absolutely wonderful. I love you all dearly. I'll see you all tomorrow. This episode of Mornings with Mova is officially over. I am Andrea Lawful Sanders. I'll see you when I see you. Bye, everybody. Bye bye. Bye, darlings. Bye bye.